The film begins with Yoon Ji-woo celebrating her birthday. Before heading to school, she spends some time exercising in her room while listening to her favorite music. It's her way of starting the day. On her way to school, she is stopped by a police officer who asks her questions about her father. Her father is known for being involved in bad things like selling drugs, and the police want information from her. Ji-woo feels uncomfortable, but keeps quiet. At school, life is tough for Ji-woo. Her classmates treat her badly because of her father's actions. They scribble mean words all over her desk, making her feel hurt and alone. Things get worse when the principal calls her to the office. The principal says many parents don't want their children studying with Ji-woo because of her father, and she is told she might have to leave the school. When Ji-woo returns to class, she finds trash dumped on her desk. This is the last straw for her. Angry and fed up, she fights back, getting into a big argument with her classmates. Afterward, she gives a note to one of her teachers and storms out of the school in anger. When Ji-woo arrived in front of her house, she saw a police car waiting for her. Angry and upset, she hit the car, which made the police start chasing her. At that time, Ji-woo ran as fast as she could and headed to the beach to get away. Once she got there, she sat by the water, thinking about her father. She remembered how much he loved her when she was little. He raised her with care, and it was hard for her to believe that he was a criminal. Later that night, Ji-woo returned home. The same police officer was still waiting for her outside, but she didn't care. She walked past him and went straight into the house. Meanwhile, her father, Yoon Dong-hoon, was trying to call her from a payphone. At first, Ji-woo didn't want to answer, but eventually she picked up. Her father wished her a happy birthday and asked how she was doing. But Ji-woo was very angry. She told her father that she hated living like this and blamed him for all the pain in her life. Her father, feeling bad, promised her that he would fix everything soon. However, Ji-woo was too hurt to believe him. She told him she didn't want to wait anymore and even said she thought of him as dead. In his car, Dong-hoon turned on his old phone, which he hadn't used in a long time. He saw a message from Ji-woo where she shared how unhappy she was. Seeing this made him feel determined to go back home and see her, no matter what. When Dong-hoon arrived at the house, he fought with the police officer guarding the door, knocking him out. He rushed inside, trying to unlock the door. The noise woke Ji-woo, and she quickly went to the door to see what was happening. Looking through the peephole, Ji-woo saw her father outside. He had been shot, and a mysterious man was walking away. Panicked, she tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. Her father was holding it shut to keep her safe. Through the door, Dong-hoon apologized to Ji-woo. He said he was sorry for making her life so hard. Then he collapsed and died. Ji-woo finally managed to open the door and found her father lying there, covered in blood. She hugged him tightly and cried, heartbroken. The next day, people in black suits came to the funeral home. Leading them was Choi Moo-jin, the leader of the city's biggest gang and her father's best friend. Moo-jin and his men came to pay their respects. Before they left, Ji-woo asked him who killed her father, but he only said that Dong-hoon was his most trusted friend. Before her father's body was cremated, Ji-woo took one last look at him. She thought about all the happy moments they shared. She couldn't understand why her father had ended up in such a dangerous life. After that, Ji-woo went to the police station to ask about her father's murder case. But to her surprise, the police said the case was closed because there were no witnesses or evidence. Angry, Ji-woo showed them CCTV footage from the crime scene. Instead of helping her, the officer scolded her and said it was her father's fault for being a criminal. That night, Moo-jin's men told him that Ji-woo wanted to see him. He agreed to let her in. Inside his headquarters, Ji-woo saw people counting money and packing drugs. When she met Moo-jin, she handed him the CCTV footage and begged him to find her father's killer. She told him she wanted to take revenge herself. Hearing that, Moo-jin stood up, handed her a knife, and told her to hurt him if she was serious about killing. Ji-woo froze cause she couldn't do it. Seeing this, Moo-jin said he wouldn't help her and ordered her to leave. When Ji-woo got home, she suddenly heard a knock at the door. Looking through the peephole, she saw a person in a black coat, and it's the same one she saw on the night her father was killed. Scared, she hid under her blanket until the person left. But then, gathering her courage, Ji-woo decided to go after the person. She grabbed the golf club and ran outside, but by the time she got there, the person was gone. Even so, Ji-woo didn't give up. She started looking for her father's killer by putting up posters with the CCTV image on walls around the city. The posters promised a reward of 5 million won for anyone who could give her information about the person in the picture. The next day, Moo-jin noticed a poster on a wall with Ji-woo's message about finding her father's killer. Seeing this, he decided to take action. Meanwhile, Ji-woo got a call from someone claiming they had information about the killer. Excited but cautious, she grabbed a small penknife and went to meet the mysterious caller. When Ji-woo arrived at the meeting place, she realized it was a trap. The caller was just a city thug with his gang, trying to steal her money. They attacked her and locked her in the trunk of their car. While inside, Ji-woo heard the car stop. She managed to open the trunk and tried to fight back. To her surprise, it wasn't the gang outside anymore cause it was Moo-jin. His men had already beaten the thugs. There, Moo-jin told Ji-woo to stop searching for her father's killer and live a better life. But Ji-woo refused. She felt guilty about her father and didn't want the police to ignore his murder. Seeing her determination, Moo-jin said if she truly wanted revenge, she needed to learn how to fight and kill. Soon after, Moo-jin took Ji-woo to a training ground by the sea near a harbor. It was where fighters in his organization trained before working for him. He explained that she would need to train hard if she wanted to join them. Then, he ordered his men to start training Ji-woo. The men were shocked because it was the first time a woman had ever joined their training. The next day, Jung Tae-ju, Moo-jin's right-hand man, told him he didn't agree with letting Ji-woo train or be part of their group. But Moo-jin stood firm, saying he would help her get the revenge she wanted. At the training ground, Ji-woo was taken to a room by a man named Do Gang-jae. He told her that for now, her job was to wash and clean the training area. He added that if she proved herself, she might get transferred to a better place. Some of Moo-jin's men were very harsh toward Ji-woo. One of them even tried to hurt her, leading to a fight. Thankfully, other men stepped in and stopped it before things got worse. Determined not to waste time, Ji-woo trained on her own every night. One evening, Moo-jin came to check on her. He asked if she still wanted to keep going. Ji-woo firmly replied that she would do anything to become stronger. Impressed by her determination, Moo-jin started teaching her survival skills. He showed her the weak points of the human body and trained her in fighting techniques. Day by day, Ji-woo got stronger, and Moo-jin kept a close eye on her progress. Finally, the big day arrived, and it's a competition to find the strongest member of the gang. The winner would earn the chance to work directly for Moo-jin and be transferred to a better position. The challenge was simple. Whoever could stand their ground and fight until the end would be declared the winner. During the fight, Gang-jae tried his best to stay strong, but Ji-woo didn't give up. She managed to stand back up and fight. Gang-jae tried to attack her again, but in the end, Ji-woo won and Gang-jae was knocked out. When Gang-jae woke up, he was in his room. His friends were teasing him and replaying the video of his fight. Feeling embarrassed and upset that Ji-woo had defeated him, Gang-jae decided to come up with a mean plan against her and convinced his friends to join him. Meanwhile, someone had secretly put something strange in Ji-woo's water, which made her feel weak and dizzy. As she tried to rest, Gang-jae and his friends decided to go to her room. But one of his friends tried to stop them, telling them it was wrong. And Ji-woo, even though she wasn't feeling well, managed to stay strong and stood up for herself. The noise from the commotion caught Tae-ju's attention. He quickly came to Ji-woo's room and stopped Gang-jae and his friends. Tae-ju then took Gang-jae to Moo-jin and told him what had happened. Moo-jin was very upset with Gang-jae for his behavior. To show how serious he was, Moo-jin scolded him and gave him a strict warning. Gang-jae realized his mistake and apologized, understanding that his actions were wrong. In her room, Ji-woo cried softly as she carefully collected her father's ashes. A little later, Tae-ju came to the training ground to talk to her. He blamed her for beating Gang-jae and told her that neither she nor her father belonged in the world of criminals. He suggested she quit and leave, but Ji-woo firmly refused. Later, Ji-woo was taken to a small tavern by Moo-jin. He explained that this was her father's favorite place to relax. Then, he gave her a new identity. From now on, Ji-woo would be known as Oh Hygiene, because, according to Moo-jin, the old Ji-woo no longer existed after Gang Jae's actions. Moo-jin also gave her a gun, and it's the same one she had found after her father died. He revealed shocking news. Her father's killer was a police officer. To uncover the truth, Moo-jin arranged for Hae-jin to join the police academy to find the person responsible. As time passed, Hae-jin trained harder than ever. She became skilled with all kinds of weapons and prepared herself for revenge. She even had the organization's tattoo marked on her chest, symbolizing that she was now part of Moo-jin's group. From that moment, she couldn't betray them or reveal who she truly was. 3 years later, Hae-jin finally joined the police academy and became part of the crime unit. One day, she was sent on a mission to catch a murder suspect who had been hiding for a long time. Before going into a nightclub where the suspect was last seen, Hae-jin asked her friend to call for backup while she went inside. Inside the club, the suspect was secretly making a deal with another man to sell drugs. There, Hae-jin began checking the rooms one by one. In one room, she found a woman who had taken too many drugs and was very sick. Hae-jin quickly helped her. Then, Hae-jin came across a room where a group of men was trading drugs. Without hesitation, she stepped in and a fight broke out. She fought bravely, trying to stop them. Soon after, the police backup arrived. Hae-jin managed to handcuff the suspect just in time. However, another officer named Jeon Pil-do appeared, and he was not happy. He explained that he had been working undercover on this case for 6 months, and Hae-jin's actions had ruined his plan. And Pil-do, who was part of the drug unit, argued with her over who should take the suspect. In the end, their captain stepped in and told Hae-jin to let Pil-do handle the case. And Pil-do, still angry, told her he didn't want to see her again before walking away. In another part of the city, a gang fight was happening, and Moo-jin calmly walked through the chaos. He was there to find one of his partners, who had betrayed the organization by secretly selling drugs to others. When Moo-jin confronted him, the man begged for forgiveness, but Moo-jin showed no mercy and ended his life. The next day, Hae-jin went to the Incheon police headquarters. She had decided to volunteer for the drug unit. There, she met the head of the unit, Captain Cha Gi-ho. When she saw his face, she remembered the man who had come to her house wearing the same jacket as her father's killer. After looking at her profile and skills, Captain Cha accepted her into the team. He told her she would officially start next week. That evening, Hae-jin visited Moo-jin to share the news that she had been accepted into the drug unit. She also told him about her suspicion that Captain Cha might be connected to her father's death because of the jacket he had worn. Moo-jin then shared a story about her father. He explained that during a dangerous gang fight in the past, Hae-jin's father had stayed by his side while everyone else ran away. Her father had saved Moo-jin's life, and they had even taken a photo together, which Moo-jin kept on his desk. To honor her father, Moo-jin gave Hae-jin her father's knife and told her to use it to bring justice by finding and confronting her father's killer. At the police station, a man named Chang-ho was being questioned. The officers wanted him to reveal his friends and boss, but Chang-ho avoided answering directly. Instead, he talked about someone named Mango, who had created a new drug disguised as candy. Later, Pil-do bumped into Hae-jin in the hallway. She told him she had joined the drug unit. Pil-do wasn't happy about it. He went to Captain Cha and complained, saying that having a woman on the team would only slow them down. Captain Cha tried to calm him down, saying that Hae-jin might not last more than a month. Reluctantly, Pil-do agreed to let her stay, though he wasn't pleased. Meanwhile, Captain Cha was working on a case involving a man who had been found in his car, appearing to have ended his own life. In reality, the man had been killed by Moo-jin using poison gas, but Moo-jin made it look like an accident. Elsewhere, Tae-ju spoke with Moo-jin, expressing his doubts about Hae-jin's loyalty. But Moo-jin assured him that he trusted her. He believed she would help him seek revenge and could also be a valuable weapon for their organization. On the other hand, Pil-do and his team were on a mission to catch a drug dealer named Mango. However, Pil-do told Hae-jin to go in by herself to handle it. Feeling annoyed, Hae-jin went into the place alone. When she showed her police ID card, the situation quickly turned dangerous, and one of the men attacked her, starting a fight. What Hae-jin didn't know was that Pil-do had sent her in as bait. He hoped Mango would try to escape so the team could catch him outside. But when Mango didn't come out, Pil-do decided to check on Hyejin. When Pil-do got inside, he was shocked to see gangsters lying unconscious all over the floor. Walking further in, he found Hyejin calmly holding Mango in custody. Pil-do couldn't believe she had managed to capture Mango and defeat his men all by herself. As they arrested Mango, he asked for proof of an arrest warrant. Pil-do just laughed in response. Together, Pil-do and Hyejin began searching the place for drugs. They looked everywhere, but found nothing, until Hyejin noticed the bartender acting nervously. Suspicious, she checked the wine bottles behind the bar and discovered drugs hidden inside one of them. With the evidence in hand, Mango was arrested for possessing illegal drugs. On the way home, Pil-do seemed worried about Hyejin. He scolded her for not wearing a safety vest, saying he didn't want her to get hurt. He cared about her safety, even if he didn't show it kindly. When they got back to the office, Mango was questioned. He revealed that his drug was a new type that hadn't been distributed yet. He also mentioned the person behind it was Gang Jae. 5 years ago, Gang Jae had almost defeated Ji-woo in a fight, but he lost. Afterward, Moo-jin punished him by marking his face with a sword. Angry and humiliated, Gang Jae left Moo-jin's group and started making his own drugs. His drugs were special because they couldn't be detected by any tests, which made them popular with buyers. Hyejin, learning this, secretly informed Moo-jin. That night, Hyejin gained access to the police database. She used it to search for evidence related to her father's murder. However, the killer had been wearing a full-face helmet, making it hard to identify him. She did discover that Captain Cha had been assigned to arrest a drug dealer on the same day her father died. She still couldn't confirm if the drug dealer was her father. Meanwhile, Moo-jin asked Tae-ju to investigate the identity of the person making this new drug. At the same time, Moo-jin and his secretary, Kang Soo-hyun, met with a Yakuza group to negotiate a deal for selling drugs. The next day, Hyejin and the team were told they had an important mission to catch a drug dealer who had been hiding for many years. Before leaving, everyone had to hand over their phones to ensure no one could leak any information. When the target was revealed, it shocked Hyejin because they were going after Choi Moo-jin, a drug dealer who controlled almost all the drug distribution in South Korea. At that moment, Hyejin felt nervous and unsure about what to do. The team headed to Moo-jin's secret lab, which was hidden on a ship. The police had planned this mission carefully to make sure Moo-jin couldn't escape. At the same time, Captain Cha stayed on the ship, watching the operation through a camera that Pil-do was carrying. Once everything was ready, the team began their mission. Hyejin saw Moo-jin, but couldn't warn him because Pil-do was always nearby, keeping an eye on her. Suddenly, someone attacked Pil-do and broke his camera, but Pil-do managed to fight back and defeat the attacker. Pil-do soon discovered Moo-jin's location and went to the lab floor to arrest him. Just as he was about to act, the power went out, and a big fire broke out on the ship. The chaos ruined their mission. All the evidence in the lab was destroyed in the fire, and with Pil-do's camera broken, they didn't have any proof of what happened or their encounter with Moo-jin. The mission was a failure. Suddenly, Hyejin screamed, pretending to have found a gun she claimed belonged to the shooter. In reality, it was the gun of her father's killer, the one she had secretly kept. She wanted to see Captain Cha's reaction when he saw it. Meanwhile, back at his headquarters, Moo-jin was furious. He was upset that no one had warned him about the police mission. Tae-ju asked why Hyejin hadn't informed them in advance. Elsewhere, Hyejin kept trying to call Moo-jin using a secret number, but he didn't answer. He knew the call was from her and chose to ignore it. At the same time, the police were interrogating the people they had arrested on the ship. Unfortunately, none of them spoke up because they were too scared for their lives. Then, Captain Cha started to grow suspicious about the shooting incident that allowed Moo-jin to escape. To investigate further, he checked all of his men's guns. Surprisingly, he found that none of the guns had missing bullets, which only made him more curious about what had really happened. After Captain Cha left, Hyejin asked Pil-do why he was so determined to catch Moo-jin. Pil-do showed her the details of their long-running mission. For 11 years, Moo-jin had been their main target. He was the leader of the biggest gang in Incheon and controlled nearly all drug trafficking in South Korea. Despite this, Moo-jin was a master at hiding evidence, which is why he had never been caught. Hye-jin was shocked when she saw a photo of her father in the operation files. Pil-do explained that her father was Moo-jin's best friend, who had been killed 5 years ago. Later, Pil-do, Hye-jin, and some colleagues went to a cafe to relax and share drinks. They chatted about why Captain Cha seemed so focused on catching Moo-jin. One person mentioned that Captain Cha's best friend had been killed by Moo-jin, and he was seeking revenge. However, no one knew who Captain Cha's best friend really was. Soon after, Hye-jin stepped away for a moment to call Moo-jin again, and this time, he answered. She apologized for not warning him earlier, explaining that the mission was planned very suddenly. She also told him there were 3 hidden cameras installed at his hotel. This news shocked Moo-jin, as it meant there might be a traitor close to him. At home, Captain Cha was going through some old documents. Strangely, he kept a photo of Hye-jin's father, which seemed important to him. Meanwhile, Moo-jin was busy removing all the hidden police cameras from his hotel. When the police found out, they reported it to Captain Cha, making him even more suspicious that someone on his team might be a traitor. Elsewhere, Gang Jae was seen drinking heavily and celebrating. He was excited because he was about to carry out a plan he had been preparing for 5 years. Not long after, Gang Jae and his men stormed Dong Jun's training area, attacking everyone there. He managed to capture Taeju, but decided not to kill him. At the same time, Captain Cha and his team got a call about the attack and rushed to Dong Jun's area. However, when they arrived, it was too late. The place was in chaos. Taeju, badly injured, refused to give any information about what happened. In the middle of the training area, there was a chilling message written in blood saying, "I'm back." Pil-do later reported to Captain Cha that at least 4 people were killed and many others were injured. The scene was devastating, and the team realized how serious the situation had become. Elsewhere, Moo-jin was furious when he heard that his training area had been attacked. However, Secretary Kong reminded him to stay calm, as the place wasn't officially tied to him, and getting involved could be risky. At the training area, the police continued their investigation. They discovered evidence of a new type of drug and searched the area for witnesses. Unfortunately, no one, not even the victims, dared to speak. While they were there, Pil-do told Hye-jin that the attack must have been horrible and promised to protect her if they ever faced something similar. The next day, a funeral was held for the victims. Hye-jin attended, but wore a helmet to avoid being recognized. On her way out, she ran into Captain Cha and Pil-do. Unexpectedly, Captain Cha also encountered Moo-jin at the funeral home. The two exchanged tense words, showing their deep grudge. Captain Cha firmly told Moo-jin that he would bring him down soon, as he was tired of him escaping justice. Moo-jin laughed, mocking Captain Cha, and said he would never be caught. The following day, a drug unit member, Na Dae-soo, discovered the identity of the person who attacked Dong Jun's training center. It was Gang Jae. Captain Cha explained that Gang Jae used to be part of Dong Jun's group, but 4 years ago, he was thought to have died during training. Captain Cha was certain that Moo-jin would make a move soon. To catch him, he ordered Mango to be released as bait. Hye-jin protested, saying it was too dangerous and could put lives at risk, but Captain Cha refused to listen. Elsewhere, Moo-jin received a message from Hye-jin warning him about Captain Cha's plan. After reading it, he quickly canceled his mission to avoid falling into a trap. Meanwhile, at the police station, Captain Cha and his team were puzzled about why there was no action from Moo-jin's group. Captain Cha laughed and said Moo-jin's downfall was inevitable because someone in his organization was betraying him. Later, Moo-jin got another message from Hye-jin, saying there was a traitor planning to meet with Captain Cha. At the same time, Taeju found a letter in his car, along with a sample of a new type of drug. The letter invited him to meet the sender, claiming they knew where Gang Jae was hiding. Without hesitation, Taeju decided to go. Meanwhile, Hye-jin, wearing a full-face helmet, went to a higher floor to spy and figure out who the traitor was. But to her surprise, she ran into Pil-do, who attacked her. That's when she realized everything was a trap set up by Captain Cha and Pil-do. Captain Cha had used Taeju as bait to uncover the traitor in his team. He suspected Hye-jin because ever since she joined, sensitive information had been leaking. Captain Cha was determined to find out the truth. Meanwhile, Hae-jin, feeling sore and frustrated, informed Moo-jin that Tae-ju had just met Captain Cha. She warned him to be cautious and avoid acting recklessly. The next morning, Hae-jin learned about the owner of the gun used to kill her father. Determined to get answers, she rushed to the office, carrying a knife, ready for revenge. She confronted Captain Cha, asking about someone named Jong-soo. Just as she was about to act, Pil-do walked in, and she decided to hold back. Captain Cha explained that Jong-soo was his best friend, who had died after joining his team, and claimed that the killer was Yoon Dong-hoon and it's Hae-jin's father. Confused and upset, Hae-jin went to Moo-jin to ask if her father had ever killed a policeman. Moo-jin denied it, saying Captain Cha was lying and would do anything to frame them because he was cunning. Back at the office, Pil-do invited Hae-jin to have soju with him that night. She declined, which led to some teasing from his friends, who joked that he liked her, but had been rejected. In truth, Hae-jin turned him down because she was focused on finding Gang-jae. Unbeknownst to her, Pil-do decided to follow her. Later, as Hae-jin was monitoring Mango, Pil-do surprised her by getting into her car. He questioned why she was working alone and suspected she had a hidden agenda. She explained that she was angry Mango had been released, despite being caught with new drugs. Together, they decided to follow Mango's car, which led them to an old, abandoned factory. Inside, they spotted Gang-jae meeting with Mango to make a deal. But things quickly took a dangerous turn cause it was all a trap set by Gang-jae, who launched an attack on them. At a cafe, Moo-jin noticed that the people around him were watching him closely, waiting to attack. But before they could make a move, he acted first and fought them off. Meanwhile, Hae-jin and Pil-do were captured by Gang-jae and his men. Gang-jae, now aware of Hae-jin's true identity, mocked her for joining the police. Angry and determined, Hae-jin challenged him to a fight. Back at the police station, Pil-do's partner told Captain Cha that they couldn't reach Pil-do. They quickly tracked his location to find out where he was. At the same time, Moo-jin managed to fight off Gang-jae, but his victory was short-lived when he received a photo from Gang-jae. The picture showed Hae-jin, with a warning that Gang-jae was about to kill her. Alarmed, Moo-jin rushed to the scene without hesitation. Gang-jae's threat wasn't empty. He put Hae-jin and Pil-do in a car and started lowering a giant iron press toward them. Just in time, Moo-jin arrived and managed to save both of them. Suddenly, the sound of police sirens filled the air. Hearing this, Moo-jin fled the scene before he could be caught. Shortly after, Captain Cha and his team arrived. Captain Cha noticed Moo-jin's car nearby, which raised his suspicions. Inside the area, they found Hae-jin and Pil-do, weak but alive. In another place, Tae-ju met with Moo-jin, upset about Moo-jin's reckless decision to act alone. Tae-ju expressed his frustration, but Moo-jin scolded him instead. He compared Tae-ju's hesitation to Hae-jin's bravery. He reminded Tae-ju how Hae-jin risked her disguise to help him on the ship, while Tae-ju only complained. The next day, Pil-do confronted Captain Cha, insisting that they arrest Gang-jae immediately. However, Captain Cha disagreed, saying Gang-jae could be caught anytime and claiming that Hae-jin was the one they should be suspicious of. But Pil-do refused to accept this, firmly believing that Hae-jin was trustworthy. Feeling conflicted, Pil-do went to check on Hae-jin in her treatment room. She was unconscious, recovering from her injuries. Pil-do couldn't believe that someone so brave and willing to fight for him was now being doubted by Captain Cha. Determined to clear things up, Pil-do and his team quickly began searching for clues about Gang-jae's whereabouts. At the same time, Dong-jun's gang was also on the hunt for Gang-jae, creating a tense race to find him first. The following day, Pil-do and his team finally caught one of Gang-jae's men and managed to get information about where the other members might be. Meanwhile, Dong-jun's gang was still searching for Gang-jae but had no luck finding him. Tae-ju reported to Moo-jin that he still hadn't located Gang-jae. This made Moo-jin suspicious, wondering if Tae-ju might have betrayed him and was hiding Gang-jae's location. That night, Hae-jin was still unconscious and had a terrible dream. She saw her father walking away from her, refusing to look back. Feeling frustrated, she tried to call out to him, but couldn't. Suddenly, she woke up, startled. Pil-do, who had been sitting beside her, calmed her down and told her everything was okay. To help her relax, Pil-do shared why he decided to become a police officer. He explained that years ago, his younger brother went to a club to celebrate graduation. Someone spiked his drink with drugs, and because his brother had a weak heart, he died on the spot. Pil-do didn't know who was responsible, but since then, he has vowed to catch every drug lord. Later, Pil-do invited Hyejin to celebrate her recovery with their police friends. And Hyejin, who was usually distant and reserved, started to open up and enjoy herself. But Tae-ju, who had been watching them secretly, reported what he saw to Moo-jin. Worried that Hyejin's cover might be blown, Moo-jin began planning her escape to keep her identity safe. At the police station, Captain Cha inspected the car that had been under the crusher that night. During the inspection, he noticed something strange. Suspicious. He ordered someone to track all the phone calls Hyejin had made recently. At the same time, Moo-jin called Hyejin, telling her to pack her things because he planned to send her overseas to keep her safe. However, Hyejin refused, saying she wanted to finish her mission first. The next morning, Hyejin returned to work and joined her team. They had successfully brought in several suspects from Gangjae's gang. Pil-do was excited, telling her that they were close to catching Gangjae. While they were talking, a man named Jo Jin-se, a police detective, greeted Hyejin. He was the same detective who had chased her father 5 years ago. Captain Cha noticed how comfortable they seemed with each other and suspected they already knew each other. Jin-se admitted he had met Hyejin before, back when he was an agent working on serious crimes. Wanting to keep things light, Jin-se gave her his business card and invited her out for a meal. After that, Captain Cha invited Jin-se for a private chat. He asked if Jin-se had managed to find Dong-hoon's daughter and mentioned that Dong-hoon's missing gun had suddenly reappeared. Surprisingly, Jin-se claimed he didn't know Dong-hoon's daughter. He quickly ended the conversation, saying he wanted to go home. On his way out, Hyejin stopped him and asked why he was pretending not to recognize her. Jin-se smiled and quietly told her that Captain Cha was actually her father's killer. Without saying more, he walked away. From a distance, Captain Cha was watching them closely. Meanwhile, Jin-se went to meet Moo-jin at the dock. It turned out that Jin-se was Moo-jin's informant inside the police force. He revealed that he knew Moo-jin had secretly placed Hyejin in the police. Jin-se then threatened Moo-jin, saying he would expose Hyejin's true identity unless Moo-jin gave him more drugs. In the evening, Hyejin went to see Mango. She threatened him for giving information about her to Gangjae. She gave Mango 2 choices. Either he would be arrested for attempted murder, or she would tell Moo-jin that Mango was one of Gangjae's men who attacked his group. Scared, Mango decided to give Hyejin information about Gangjae's location. Without hesitation, Hyejin passed this information on to Moo-jin. However, Mango secretly reported everything to Gangjae. Gangjae then called Captain Cha, knowing that Captain Cha wanted to catch Moo-jin. Gangjae made a deal, offering to reveal Moo-jin's location if Captain Cha agreed to let him go. Meanwhile, Moo-jin was getting ready to go to the location Hyejin had mentioned. Tae-ju, however, was suspicious and thought it might be a trap since the information came from Hyejin. But Moo-jin trusted her and decided to go anyway. Before leaving, he told Tae-ju to stay back and take care of the gang in case something happened to him. On the day of the meeting, Gangjae arrived at the location and tried to call Captain Cha. But Captain Cha didn't answer because he and his team were already there, hiding and preparing to capture both Gangjae and Moo-jin at the same time. Soon after, Moo-jin and his gang arrived at the location. The 2 biggest gangs in Korea started a fierce fight, trying to prove who was in charge. As the fight went on, Captain Cha ordered his team to step in and arrest everyone, especially Gangjae and Moo-jin. Meanwhile, Gangjae and Moo-jin were in a heated fight, both determined to win. Hyejin saw what was happening and wanted to help Moo-jin. She pointed her gun at Gangjae, but stopped herself when he fell to the ground. Then, Gangjae pulled a small knife from his shoe and hurt Moo-jin. Hyejin quickly pointed her gun at Gangjae and told Moo-jin to get to safety. But Gangjae just laughed at her, making fun of the situation. Hyejin felt unsure and overwhelmed by what was happening. At that moment, Pil-do arrived and saw Hae-jin holding the gun. He calmly told her to put it down. Sensing that the police were nearby, Gang-jae began saying things to stir up trouble. But before anything else could happen, Hae-jin made a quick decision and stopped Gang-jae, bringing the situation to an end. While running away, Moo-jin was almost caught by Captain Cha, but Tae-ju arrived just in time with a car to rescue him. Tae-ju drove Moo-jin into a tunnel, where Moo-jin handed over all his responsibilities to Tae-ju temporarily, saying he needed time to recover. After traveling for a while, Moo-jin reached a temple, where a monk treated his wounds. The next day, Hae-jin was deeply troubled after her first time taking someone's life. She couldn't stop thinking about Gang-jae. That night, Pil-do visited her at home, bringing food because he knew she was still shaken. He gently told her not to be alone when the first snow falls, as it gets very cold. Pil-do avoided mentioning the tragic event and focused on comforting her. However, Hae-jin, worried about her secret being discovered, decided to create a story to protect her identity. She told Pil-do that, in the past, Gang-jae had tried to harm her and had given her drugs. She even showed him scars on her hands as proof. Hae-jin said this was why she decided to become a police officer. Pil-do felt sorry for her and believed her story without questioning it. Meanwhile, at the temple, Moo-jin discovered that the monk helping him was an old friend who had turned over a new leaf and become a Buddhist monk. The monk advised Moo-jin to stay and rest for a few more days until he was fully healed. At the same time, Captain Cha gathered his team to search for Moo-jin in all the areas they suspected he might be hiding. Meanwhile, Hae-jin received a letter addressed to her old name, Ji-woo. When she opened it, she was shocked to find a photo of her father wearing a police uniform with the name Song Jong-soo, and it's the same name as the owner of the gun. Suddenly, she remembered Gang-jae's words, calling her foolish. It turned out the letter was from Gang-jae before he died. Shortly after, she received a voice message from Moo-jin asking her to meet him. When Hae-jin arrived at the temple where Moo-jin was staying, she showed him the photo of her father in a police uniform and asked if her father had been a policeman. There, Moo-jin explained that her father had originally been sent by Captain Cha to spy on the gang. But later, her father chose to join Moo-jin's gang and even saved Moo-jin's life. From that moment on, they became close friends. To protect himself, her father used several names, including Song Jong-soo. Moo-jin also shared how, in the past, he often saw Hae-jin's father sneaking away with a big smile, carrying lots of food. That's when Moo-jin realized her father had a daughter and was caring for her. He decided he would help take care of her after her father passed. Moo-jin ended his story by saying that Captain Cha was the one who killed her father. He believed this happened because someone from his own gang had betrayed him. Hae-jin felt even more confused than before. Earlier, Captain Cha, who didn't know she was Jong-soo's daughter, had told her that her father was killed by one of Moo-jin's men. Now, she didn't know whom to trust. At a small cafe, Pil-do sits with Captain Cha, who is very drunk. Captain Cha looks tired and hopeless because they still haven't caught Moo-jin. Pil-do tries to cheer him up, telling him not to give up. Meanwhile, Moo-jin, angry that Hae-jin hasn't finished her task, orders Tae-ju to get rid of Captain Cha. Later, Pil-do helps the drunk Captain Cha back to his apartment. Once he makes sure Captain Cha is safe, Pil-do leaves. Not long after, a man sneaks into Captain Cha's apartment and attacks him. At the same time, Hae-jin is walking to her place when she accidentally bumps into the man, but she doesn't think much of it. However, when she sees blood on the doorknob, she hurries inside. Suddenly, Captain Cha, thinking Hae-jin is one of Moo-jin's people sent to kill him, shoots her. But Hae-jin tells him she's there to take revenge for her father's death. Hearing this, Captain Cha goes silent. And Captain Cha, badly injured and struggling to breathe, hands Hae-jin an envelope. He tells her to leave quickly before the police arrive to arrest her. Although confused, Hae-jin listens and runs away. Moments later, Pil-do arrives at Captain Cha's apartment. Once she reaches her car, Hae-jin opens the envelope to see what's inside. She finds a file that reveals her father's past. He used to be an undercover cop trying to catch Moo-jin. Her father's disguise was so convincing that he became one of Moo-jin's closest friends. On Moo-jin's birthday, Her father gave him a lighter as a gift. Moo-jin loved it so much that he always carried it, even when he was with her father. But Hae-jin learns the lighter had a secret listening device hidden inside. One day, Moo-jin found a piece of paper stuck in her father's typewriter. The paper revealed the truth. Her father was a police officer writing daily reports about Moo-jin. Her father had pretended to enjoy writing fiction stories to hide the truth. Moo-jin felt deeply betrayed. The person he trusted most had been fooling him all along. Later, Hae-jin opens another envelope her father had prepared in case he died. Inside is a letter. In the letter, her father apologizes for not being a good dad. He says he's sorry for not being there to watch her grow up, to share special moments, or to see her get married and have a family. He writes that his only wish is for her to live a happy life. As Hae-jin reads the letter, tears pour down her face. She realizes her whole life had been built on lies. The weight of the truth makes her feel so weak she can barely stand. At the hospital, it turns out Captain Cha is still alive. The doctors perform surgery to save him. Meanwhile, Hae-jin decides to remove the tattoo on her chest because she now knows who she must take revenge on. After that, she goes to the hospital to check on Captain Cha. Learning the truth, she feels sorry for him. When Hae-jin arrives, she meets Pil-do. Pil-do is sure that the attack on Captain Cha has something to do with Moo-jin. Frustrated, Pil-do promises to catch Moo-jin soon. While they're talking, a doctor and nurse come out of the operating room. Luckily, Captain Cha's surgery is successful. Elsewhere, Tae-ju tells Moo-jin that Captain Cha survived. He also mentions that Hae-jin was at the scene of the attack. Hearing this, Moo-jin orders Tae-ju to finish Captain Cha for good. It turns out Tae-ju was the one who attacked Captain Cha. Now, Tae-ju is treating his injured hand, while Hae-jin is bandaging her hand, which was grazed by Captain Cha's bullet. At the police station, Pil-do stares at photos of the attack on Captain Cha. As he looks, he suddenly remembers the time Hae-jin shot Gang-ji. For a moment, he starts to suspect her, but the thought quickly slips away. Meanwhile, at the temple, Moo-jin gets a report from his secretary about Gang-ji's death. She warns him to stay calm and not make any reckless moves. Soon, Moo-jin discovers that Pil-do hid evidence showing Hae-jin was the one who killed Gang-ji. As Hae-jin prepares to leave her house, she is attacked by Tae-ju's men who have been sent to kill her. Luckily, she fights back and defeats all of them. But then, Tae-ju himself enters her house. Before attacking, he tells her how he has always wanted to kill anyone who betrayed Moo-jin. However, Moo-jin always insisted on dealing with traitors himself. Hearing this, Hae-jin doesn't wait and strikes first. Using Tae-ju's injured hand to her advantage, Hae-jin manages to overpower him. Before dying, Tae-ju tells her that they are not so different cause they are both murderers. His words leave her shaken, but she doesn't hesitate and finishes him off. At the police station, everyone is busy gathering clues and searching for evidence. Suddenly, Dae-soo gets a call from a doctor who once treated injured people at Cheonhwang Temple. Without wasting time, they head to the temple. But just as they are about to leave, they are shocked when Moo-jin shows up and surrenders. Later, Pil-do begins questioning Moo-jin. He tells Moo-jin that his fingerprint was found on the knife used to stab Gang-ji, proving Moo-jin is the mastermind behind the attack on Captain Cha. But Moo-jin, full of confidence, says he will soon walk free and escape all the charges. Hearing this, Hae-jin rushes to the police station and storms into the interrogation room. She boldly tells Moo-jin that she will make sure he goes to prison using all the evidence they've gathered. Filled with anger and determination, Hae-jin tells Moo-jin there is no way he'll escape this time. Meanwhile, Dae-soo checks the CCTV footage and spots a car leaving Captain Cha's house. Quickly, they trace the car's number plate to find out more. At the station, an officer hands Pil-do a file containing Hae-jin's call history from Captain Cha. It turns out Captain Cha had told the officer to give Pil-do the file if anything bad happened to him. The file reveals that Hae-jin had asked for evidence from one of the officers, pretending it was for the investigation. She even took the knife used by Moo-jin in the attack. Hae-jin later tells Moo-jin that the knife has been secured as evidence. At the same time, Dae-soo and other officers discover that the car leaving Captain Cha's house belongs to Hae-jin. Dae-soo shares this with Pil-do, along with CCTV footage showing Hae-jin leaving the scene. After seeing the footage, Pil-do orders her arrest, but by then, Hae-jin has already escaped with the knife. Meanwhile, Moo-jin and his secretary leave the station. Without solid evidence, Pil-do can't keep him locked up. Secretly, Moo-jin had been testing Hae-jin to see if she was still loyal to him. At the police station, everyone is in shock and panicking. Soon after, the officers search Hae-jin's desk, unable to believe that she attacked Captain Cha. Dae-soo, furious, yells at Pil-do, blaming him for trusting her. Pil-do stays quiet, thinking back to all the strange things Hae-jin had said. As he pieces it together, Pil-do grows angry and directs his blame toward Moo-jin. At his headquarters, Moo-jin hears that Hae-jin has killed Tae-ju and his men. He realizes that she didn't help him escape the police station out of loyalty. Instead, she wanted to take matters into her own hands and deal with him personally. Understanding this, Moo-jin orders his men not to look for Hae-jin, knowing she will come to him soon. Meanwhile, Pil-do is at Captain Cha's house, inspecting the scene. He finds an envelope with receipts for Hae-jin's parents' funeral expenses. When he notices the burial location written on the receipt, his phone rings. A colleague tells him to head to Hae-jin's house immediately. When Pil-do arrives at Hae-jin's house, he is shocked to see it in chaos. The place is a mess, with blood splattered everywhere. As he searches, he notices the family photo album of Hae-jin's father is missing. Realizing something important, Pil-do decides to go to the burial site. Soon after, Hae-jin went to her mother's burial site, bringing along her father's ashes. Before leaving, she made a promise to end everything and take revenge. On her way back, she unexpectedly ran into Pil-do, who had been looking for her. Pil-do stopped her and told her to turn herself in. He said he was deeply disappointed because she had lied to him. Pil-do managed to handcuff Hae-jin and take her to the police station. When they arrived, her colleagues, including Dae-soo, were furious. They felt betrayed, as they had always treated Hae-jin like family. At Moo-jin's headquarters, he heard about Hae-jin being arrested. But instead of celebrating, he ordered his secretary to find a way to free her. It was clear that Moo-jin wanted to deal with Hae-jin himself. At the station, Pil-do went to Hae-jin's holding cell. He accused her of stabbing Captain Cha to keep her secrets hidden. Hae-jin, who had been silent, finally spoke. She told Pil-do that she didn't hurt Captain Cha, though she doubted he would believe her. The next day, Secretary Kong visits Hae-jin in her holding cell. She delivers a message from Moo-jin, asking Hae-jin to meet him as soon as she is free. Secretary Kong then tells Pil-do to take Hae-jin to the hospital for treatment. Pil-do refuses at first, but Secretary Kong threatens to reveal that someone from Dong-jun's gang had been spying on the police. Left with no choice, Pil-do agrees and takes Hae-jin to the hospital. Meanwhile, Moo-jin orders his men to be ready to pick up Hae-jin. At the hospital, Hae-jin is treated by a doctor and nurse. To her surprise, the nurse turns out to be the same woman Hae-jin saved when she overdosed at the club. While waiting outside the room, Pil-do gets a call with big news. Captain Cha has woken up from his coma. Shortly after, Pil-do rushes to see him and accuses Hae-jin of trying to kill him. Captain Cha, however, explains the truth. He tells Pil-do about Jong-soo, a member of Dong-jun's gang who died 5 years ago. He reveals that Hae-jin is Jong-soo's daughter. She had joined Dong-jun's gang to uncover the truth about her father's death. Captain Cha assures Pil-do that Hae-jin did not stab him. Before Pil-do leaves, Captain Cha gives him one last order to help Hae-jin. On the other hand, Hae-jin manages to free herself from the handcuffs. A nurse secretly gives her a car key and tells her to leave through the side door. As she tries to escape, she is suddenly attacked but fights back and defeats her attackers. She quickly heads to the parking lot. Just as she reaches the car, Pil-do appears and stops her. He tells her he knows everything now and begs her not to go. But Hae-jin refuses, determined to get her revenge. In the middle of their argument, Pil-do slips handcuffs onto her wrists. Before they can settle things, Moo-jin's men arrive and surround them. Together, Hyejin and Pil-do fight their way to the car, jump in, and speed away, leaving Moo-jin's men behind. The next day, Moo-jin is preparing a ceremony for Taeju's death when he learns that Hyejin has escaped again. Meanwhile, Pil-do has taken Hyejin to a quiet house by the beach. Inside, he helps her treat her wounds. Pil-do tells her that holding on to revenge can destroy a person. Hearing his words, Hyejin starts to cry and shares all her feelings. There, Pil-do reassures her, saying he will stand by her no matter what. He tells her she doesn't have to face everything alone and promises to help her to the very end. Elsewhere, Moo-jin sits in his office, lost in thought about the past. He picks up a gun left on the typewriter that Hyejin's father once used. At the same time, Taeju tells him about Jong-soo meeting his daughter, which had enraged Moo-jin so much that he shot Jong-soo right outside his daughter's apartment. Snapping out of his daydream, Moo-jin is interrupted by Secretary Kong, who tells him that an arrest warrant has been issued for him. When she suggests he flee the country, Moo-jin suddenly throws a photo of himself and Jong-soo on the floor. Upset, Secretary Kong leaves the room. Meanwhile, at the beach house, Pil-do wakes up and thinks Hyejin has run away. But when he steps outside, he finds her standing by the shore, enjoying the fresh morning air. Afterward, they leave together and head to the Incheon police headquarters. As they stop at a red light, Hyejin tells Pil-do she will follow his advice and try to let go of her revenge. Pil-do promises to stay by her side, no matter what. But before they can say more, a shooter suddenly fires at their car, hitting Pil-do. Shaking with fear and anger, Hyejin grabs his gun and heads straight to find Moo-jin. When she arrives at the headquarters, Hyejin points the gun at a guard and demands he open the door. Then, a fight breaks out as she battles her way through Moo-jin's men, defeating all of them. At last, she stands face to face with Choi Moo-jin, the man who killed her father. With all her remaining strength, Hyejin pointed the gun at Moo-jin, demanding to know why he killed her father. As her eyes fell on a photo of her father lying on the floor, she picked it up and slipped it into her pocket. Moo-jin smirked and told her he admired her fearless spirit. But Hyejin didn't wait. She attacked him, leading to an intense fight. At that time, Moo-jin proved to be a strong opponent, easily overpowering her. As Moo-jin limped toward her, ready to finish her off, Hyejin found the strength to get back up and hurt him. At last, she avenged her father and Pil-do. Exhausted but determined, she walked away. In the final moments, Hyejin visits her parents' grave. She gently places a photo of herself with her father on the headstone. Afterward, she visits Pil-do's grave to say her goodbye. And that's how the story ends. The moral lesson from this film is never trust a gang boss to do parenting, cause it might lead to a career change and too many revenge plans to handle.